Hi, good morning, everybody. We are about to get started. We have just a few more people joining. We have a lot of registrants for this session. So I'll give everybody just one more minute to get in the group, and then we will get going. Okay, so this session is recorded, so we'll go ahead and get started. I know it's Friday, it's the end of people's day, or the middle of your day, or the beginning of mine, but I don't want to keep us too long. So welcome to today's Tech Talk Live. My name is Kristen Gastaldo. I am the IFS Customer Community Lead, meaning that I manage the IFS community hosted at community.ifs.com. Hopefully you are all aware of our community and are taking advantage of that space. Hopefully you've seen our presenters in there as well. For anyone who hasn't attended one of these sessions before, this is a Tech Talk Live. These are part of our success sessions, which include our lunch and learns and our office hours. Tech Talk Lives are the longest of these. They're about an hour long, and they're designed to give you a deep dive into some section of IFS technologies. This session is open to our employees and partners and customers. It's open to everybody. So thank you all for joining. Today we are joined by Lakmali, Divaji, and Minoshini, Fonseca, who are covering Aurena page configurations. They are part of our global support team. So they're going to give you an introduction to themselves and get started. We do have a chat option available, so if you have questions, please put your questions in the chat or in the question section. We'll hold them to the end, and then I'll read them out at the end for our presenters to answer. Okay? All right, ladies, I'll let you go ahead. Thank you. Lakmali, do you want to introduce yourself and kick us off? I think we might have a little bit of a delay. Oh, wait, hang on.
I work as a prime manager in the operations team. Will that help, Christine?
I was thinking the same thing. I'm going to turn my video off, and hopefully we don't have any more lags.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, now I hear you fine.
All right. So, okay, I'll continue then. Great. So today with me, I have my colleague Minoshini Fonseca. She's the senior software engineer in Global Support Delivery for Aurena Page Designer, where you can do client configurations to Aurena and agenda to Aurena method. So for today, so then let's get started. So the agenda session will be at first of all, I will give you an overview of the concepts around configurations, and then we will take a deep dig into how to work with Aurena Page Designer to go on and configure the client. And then at the end, we have a Q&A session where you can shoot your questions and we will be able to provide the necessary information for you. All right, so let's get started then. First of all, let's start with the overview. So when it comes to configurations, tailoring, configuring, extending are quite similar words that we use. So let us first understand what we mean by each here. When we say configuration or configuring, it is the process of using the tools and concepts that we have built in solutions to change the user interface or maybe to extend the existing data model likewise. So this functionality is intended for power users or consultants who have some understanding of the underlying data model. It's not necessary to be a software engineer, but some understanding of the underlying data model is quite helpful when you are doing an effective configuration. And also it is very important to note that with configuration, do not change the existing business logications. We do the so configurations are more or less working on the metadata layer of the application. So there is no change to the existing business logic. There are some instances that you need to do the changes in the business logic. Maybe you have to add some functionality, or maybe you need to extend the existing platform or override a functionality. So in that case is we have the extend on the inside optimization concept, which is supported with layered application architecture like concept, so that there will be low code development. So this is where if needed you can do or modifications to the existing business logic. So it involves some source code changes. And apart from these two, if needed, we can switch for extend on the outside part. So where there are APIs exposed from IFS solutions that can be considered in development of Power Apps, Mendix, or Boomi like integration platforms, or basically any technology of your choice, and you can do the integrations and develop any custom client as needed. So these are three different ways of tailoring that allows you to adapt or change the IFS solutions to fit to your specific business. So as much as you needed. So those are the main three concepts or the ways of tailoring. And Aurena Page Designer is a tool that goes in this configuration layer. So as much as you need it. So this is where that we are working on the metadata layer. We do not allow, or it means that layer, but we do not any business logic modifications, but still you can. We should take, so in addition to 3 tailoring we have, because this is going to have a great impact on updating to the future release. If you are on the core release, where you can use this as it comes out of the box, so it is very easy to upgrade, and the future releases are quite easy to take on. And when if you are using, so still there will be some things to be done when you are taking on a new release, but we are trying to provide full support, tooling support through the IFS solutions as well, for evergreen with release updates even you are configured. So it's ongoing process. Like we provide the tools for configuring, we are providing tools here as well. And the more high you go into tailoring with customizations and so on, so the work is more intrusive, so it results in less automated, more labor intensive work when you are applying new releases. So it's quite important when you are selecting the tailoring types, select the correct way of tailoring to suit to a requirement and the proper level. So on this basis, on the configurations or concepts, so let us look into the page designer. So page designer is a configuration tool that we have introduced. It allows you to change the user interface as well as some aspects on Aurena client. So here is a snapshot of the Aurena page designer tool that we will discuss in detail in this session later. So whatever the modifications or changes that is done through these page designer like tools are stored as configurations in the database, in the database configuration tables. So these are more or less applying application wide, but we have built in some concepts like configuration, context mappings, and so on, so that you have flexibility on how you can apply these configurations. So there is a choice whether you want to apply these configurations to whole installation so that it will be for all the users in the installation, or should it be to a specific user group. Then we still have that capability through this tooling. So let me show you a simple example. So this is a sample page that we have in the core standard page, which is commission agreement page. So you can see there are some mandatory fields highlighted with pink and some layout is there. So with the page designer, you can change this layout as well as you can change some attributes in the page. For example, now you can see the title of the page is modified from commission agreement to commission agreement details, and the notes field, which was a non-mandatory field in the standard page, is a mandatory field now. The document text, which was on the standard page, it's not visible here, it is hidden. So likewise, you can configure Aurena pages through the page designer. There are many functionalities that we support through Aurena page designer. So likewise, you can basically make fields mandatory, non-mandatory, and also change the layout of the page, change the order in these elements, visibility. Likewise, things can be changed, and apart from that, you can extend these behaviors by adding custom fields or adding custom commands into these pages. So new elements, even the standard elements, can be added into pages. And also you can configure assistance with different steps and so on. So there are many things that can be done through the page designer to configure Aurena client pages. So with this basic introduction, I will hand over to you, Minoshini, so that we will go into the details of how to work with Aurena page designer and get these configurations on Aurena client pages. Over to you, Minoshini.
Thank you, Lakmali. I hope I'm audible. Let's get going then. First of all, let's see how to open the page designer. So we'll first log into the Aurena client. Normally, the page designer option is available from user menu. But for this start page, it seems this page designer option is grayed out. Even if you go to some other places like lobby page overview or any other lobby page, you will experience the similar thing like grayed out page designer option. So to start with the page designer, we have to be on a configurable page. I'm now going to the page like business lead. From here, we should be able to see this page designer option. Let's check that out. Yes, this option is available from here. And also when we click there, the navigator is replaced by this page designer pane. Yes, now we are in the page designer. Now let's have a quick look at this page designer first. Page designer is consisted of a toolbar and 3 expandable and collapsible panes, namely active page, all pages and all elements. So when we check the toolbar, we could see there are several icons for actions. This one for publish and this one for unpublishing, and this eye icon is for preview. And there is a configuration context selector as well. So let's have a quick demo to go through this page designer first. So you can see these panes are expandable, and these options. This is for publish and for unpublish and for preview. So let's get going to see these panes now. First, I will begin with this active page. So this section contains the definition for the currently previewed page. Here it displays the metadata that builds up this current page. So let's check this example here. This is the active page for business lead Aurena page. So from here, we can find all the relevant information for this page. And actually, this page is like business lead details page. And also, we can find these command groups in where we could find all the commands added for this page. And in the content section, we can find all the elements added for this page. Likewise, we can get an overall idea of the page by referring this active page section. And now we were in the page like business lead detail page. Shall we check with another example with a different page perhaps? Yes. From this, let's go to this business lead overview page. So this is the business lead page actually. From here, we could see a list, and here is the definition for this page. Basically, active page is a representation of the content of the current page in the client model. Since I touched the point of content section in active page, I would like to show a couple of useful tips related to this content section. In here, what we see here in the content section corresponds to the client page. So this general info, we can find the general info there in both cases. So we can map what we have in the page designer and what we see in the Aurena page. The second thing is that when we hover over an element, we can see the defined name for this. So this is the actual implementation name. And we can check few more examples, addresses and contacts. So likewise, we can find the actual implementation name. If we go back to this general info, we can also click there, and there will be a preview pane opened. And from there also we can see this naming. So likewise, we can get more information from this preview pane as well. So I hope we have sort of an understanding on the active page. Now, this is an interesting thing because building blocks of the metadata are the elements. So page designer display all the elements in two sections. They are in all pages and all elements. I hope this would be a good input to start exploring the other two panes, all pages and all elements. Actually, these all pages and all elements contain all the available pages and elements in the client model. In all pages, we can find all the top level elements in the loaded client model. So we can find not only the pages, but also the dialogues and assistants, because all of them are categorized as top level elements. Now, shall we have a look at them for this business lead page? So these are the dialogues and these are the assistants. If we talk about all elements, here it contains all the shared elements belongs to the loaded client model. These elements could be referred by active page or any other page in all pages. So we'll have a look at them as well. So we can find cards, commands, fields and groups, list, etc. Previously I mentioned that these elements can be referred by active page or any other page defined under all pages. So now I'm interested in showing an example how one of these elements is getting referred in this active page. So this is the active page. I will go with the first one. This is the detail lead, business lead detail selector. And by the name suggests, this is a selector. So we can go to all elements and we should be able to find this select actually. Yes, here it is. I hope now you got the connection how these elements are getting referred and appeared in the Aurena page. So let's begin to work with the page configurations. First of all, let's see how we can do a simple change and see the preview of it. In the toolbar, we will be able to see an icon which enables the preview, and we can toggle this in between enabling and disabling. So I'm planning to do a kind of a change to this general info label, and let's see how we could preview this change. So first, we need to find the corresponding element from the content. I hope now you can understand, and we will be able to find the element from this content section. Is the general info, and once we click there, preview pane is opened, and the label, we are going to do a change to the label, and the label property is also displayed in the preview pane. So it's easy to do this change from here. Okay, we haven't saved any changes, or we haven't published, or we haven't done anything, but we are in the preview mode. So we will be able to see the changes just because we are in the preview enable mode. And now let's see how to rearrange elements using the page configurations. In this example, I'm going to arrange addresses and contacts together. Addresses and contacts, two elements. But now I'm going to use an element called arrange. So it is added there. So we can arrange or organize both of these elements, addresses and contacts, just under this arrange element. So this could be done by a simple drag and drop. Since we are in the preview enable mode, if we scroll down, we can see this newly added element as well, where we could see addresses and contacts as one element. Further, with the page designer, we could rearrange the order of these elements. So I will move this arrange to somewhere in the middle, and also it is possible by a simple drag and drop. At this point, we have done the configuration. Now it's time to save the configurations. And once we save this thing, this save icon, yes, now it is there normal. But we got the revert configurations. If we want to revert our changes, we can do that with that icon. Then let's see. So far we have done our configurations and we have saved them. Now it's time to see whether these changes are visible for others. So let's try with a different tab and with a different user. So first I will go with this different tab. Oh, it seems we haven't get these changes yet. Let's try with a different user. Different user who is using the same environment. We will go with that. So ESS is a user I'm logging to. For him also, it is not visible yet. Now, let's go and publish these changes. We could publish our configurations from here. And let's observe the previous scenarios we checked. From a different tab, let's go and reload this page. Yes, these changes are there now. And let's check with the others as well. Yes, the changes are there. So with this, I will briefly touch what is saved and what is published. Saved configurations mean that they can be opened in the page designer to be further worked on, yet they are not published. That means they will not turn up in a live application and they will not visible for end users. But by publishing the configurations, they will be visible for end users. So page configurations provide flexible approach to do changes. So let me show a few more examples here. So I have opened the page designer from subcontract page. Let's think that we got a requirement to make this contract reference field mandatory. For this, first we have to locate this contract reference field. We can go to this subcontract header group and then let's try to locate this field. So once we identify this contract reference field, there's a very small thing to do to make any field mandatory. That is to check this required. At the same time, I hope you will notice that there is this yellow bar appearing just in front of this property. That is to signify that we got unsaved configurations. And additionally, you will also notice that this bar is not only here, but also from some root level or top level. So to check this out, we'll go to these all elements and see how is the situation there. Yes, in the groups, and we can see there is this yellow bar appearing. So from that level also we can get this indication. So this denotes that there is at least one unsaved configuration inside the groups. And let's expand that thing. Oh yes, then we can track the path to the configuration from this indication actually. Now let's save these changes. After saving this, you can notice that there is a green dotted line. So that means not published configurations. Actually, they are for saved configurations, but not yet published configurations. So these bars are very good indications for working with when working with Page Designer. Now let's see to publish this thing. Yeah, this bar is turning to a solid green line. So this indicates published configurations. Finally, we could see that our contract reference field, it has become mandatory. So let's move on to some more examples. In here, I would like to show a way to hide a field. So for this, I will select this description field. The first thing is that we need to locate this description field. And here, so there is this required property. There is this visible property. Initially, this is not set, but we can check and uncheck that thing. And we will do that change. Now we can see this description field is now hidden. Next, another thing. What about duplicating fields? For that, I will select this not field. Let's try this out. We can go there, and in here, we can find this icon. So this is to duplicate field. And here is also, we can find this delete one. If we want an element, we can remove that. But going with the example, I will use this duplicate icon to create another field out of this. So another one is created. For the identification purpose, I will give another different name. And we'll save and publish. After all, this is the final output. We have made this contract reference field mandatory. We have hidden a field and we got an additional field. Now, there is this context coming into page configurations. Now let's see what is this context. It is sort of a concept to make it possible to develop and provide different configuration versions of the same application object. Global context is the default and it affects all the users in an environment in the same way. Besides the global context, we can define any number of custom contexts to store configurations. So let's try that out in the application. So first, my attempt is to show how this global context works. Even when we open the page designer, the global context comes by default. And for this, I will take another example. So I'm going to make this total base cost field mandatory in the global context. So let's try to do that change. We will locate the correct group and we are in the total base cost. Saved and published. Yes, the configuration is done. Now we know when we do a change under a global context, all the users get this change. To verify this behavior, let's see from another user account. So for this time, I will go with Christine's user account in this environment. So let's see whether it is visible to her. Yes. Actually, when we do some kind of a configurations to global context, it gives an impression that we are in a core application or an application which is customized. This time, let's say we want to do a configuration or modification to be applied for one user and not for all the users. When we get such requirement, we cannot rely on global context. So this is the time we could go with custom context. So I'm going to add a label to this risk analysis header, and I'm planning to do this change only for this user called MIFA-LK. So first, we need to check how to configure the page under the custom context. First step, to create this custom context. So if we go to this configuration context selector, we can create new context and then we can just type the name and hit enter. Then it is created. Now, then we have to do that configuration with to this context. So let's go with the configuration change. Yeah, now this configuration change is there for the context A. Yeah, we can confirm it. If we go to the global context, we can notice this change. We will check this change actually with the global context. No, in the global context, this label is not there. But if we go to the custom context, we can find this configuration. So to support multiple parallel configurations of the same page, separate context can also be defined as well. So next, I would like to bring your attention to a difference between global context and custom context. When configurations are made for global context, this configuration will be used as soon as an application user navigates to that page. But for the custom context, no user will ever use a configuration from a specific context if it is not specifically defined. So we should know how to reach the configuration of a page which is made for a custom context. Actually, that could be done in two ways. First, one is implicitly mapping the user or user groups to a configuration context. Secondly, explicit navigation directive. That means we can specifically specify the context on the navigation URL as an attribute called scope. Anyway, I will explain this very simple example. So in here, I will take this URL. So at the end, I'm going to add something like scope equals A. For that, you can use the name of the context for that. And then we can see the page for a particular context. So this is the change we should do. Yes, we got this change here. I hope you're still with me. So in this example we are working, we have this requirement. First, the adding a label to the risk analysis header group, which is done. And configuration needs to be reflected to one user when navigating. So we have done the configuration specific to context A, yet we have not defined this mifile user to load these configurations defined for context A automatically. So let's see how to do that next. So this is actually the implicit mapping. So we can go to the solution manager, and from here we can add a mapping. Let's add a context from here, and we can add the description, and we can add a condition for this. For my scenario, I will use this mifile equals user equals mifile k, but as per your requirement, you are welcome to use attributes defined in here uh, to create these mappings. And once we create them, there's another thing to do. That is to clear these cache, clear mapping cache. We have to do that as well. Then that's done. The mapping is completed. Now let's log in to the application from this user and see whether they will get this configuration automatically when they navigate to the page. Yes, it is there. Previously, even for the global context, I checked this with Christine's account. Now, again, let's try with her account to see how it's the behavior. Has this has any impact for this user? Yeah, for her, it's no. She will only get the global configurations when navigating. Now I'm going to mention the evaluation order used by the framework to use this context. The first priority goes to the explicit context directive on an URL. So that is the add-in scope attribute at the end of the URL. And second priority goes to the mapped default context, which we just discussed, configuration context mappings. Next, the global context. Lastly, the application core. And then custom attribute, it is also a concept that lets you to extend the existing entity in IFS application with additional custom information. So I will just touch how we can add the page designer to add an existing custom field. So here, if a standard page needs to be extended with the custom attribute, and that is done by configuring the entity configurations, and that has to be done. So in here, there's a attribute like priority, and this is also added under this customer order. And we can see this is a persistent field and approved and published. Now, let's see, we want to add this custom field to here. From the page designer, we will locate that custom field. So it's just adding a content to the relevant entity. So from here, we could add the custom field, and then it's there. We can publish and saved, and then we can use this page, this custom field in this page. Like we add the custom fields, we can add commands in Aurena page using Page Designer. And custom commands provide the functionality to execute command actions and navigate between application pages, navigate to extend URLs. So they are also added as buttons, and they can be added to top header or above list and group sections. So let's check a couple of examples. So in this example, this is a simple one. Let's say user wants to see what are the parts created by this manufacturer. So this is a navigation. So we can obviously use this navigation link command to navigate between pages. To do that, actually first I will show this will be added to command groups, and then we can see how to do that. This option will be navigation link, and from here we can add the label, and we have to give the destination page. It was like part, manufacturers and list. And we can provide these parameters. Manufacturer number is mapped to ID. And then this command is already added. Likewise, it's easy to add custom command. And here also we'll check this. Once the command is created, we can direct to the target page with the filtered results. Next, and there is also a possibility to navigate to external URLs, again with or without parameters. We can go with the command groups to add this navigation, external navigation link. and we can add the label and the URL. HTTP and HTTPS are supported currently. Once we click there, we can go to that URL. So these are very useful configurations to have in your application. So with this session, we'll try to cover some basics for Aurena Page Designer. Now it's time for Q&A. Lakmali, are we good to go? Yeah.
Yes, Minoshini, we are good to go. So if there are any questions, we can take it now, or else you are free to reach us with your feedback, or if any questions that you have, we will be always there to help you with.
Sorry, we do have a handful of questions that came in during the presentation. I can read some of those out to you guys while we have a few minutes.
Yes, Christine. Yes, Christine, go ahead. We have a few minutes still.
So can we see if a page is modified at once? And is it possible to quickly toggle, enable, disable custom configurations?
Can you repeat the question, please,
Sure.
Christine?
Can we see if a page is modified at once? Is it possible to quickly toggle, enable, and disable the custom configurations?
The place that you can see if a page is configured is in Solution Manager. There is a page called Page Configurations where you get all list of these page configurations and some details into the configuration. But unfortunately, at the moment, there is no such toggle that you can switch on and off the configurations. It is not available there at the moment, but you can see all the configured pages through the page configurations page in the Solution Manager.
Awesome, thank you. Another one is, before I publish for all users, can you publish for QA users?
Of course, there you can make use of the configuration context mappings concept that Minoshini demoed. So you can do this mapping for a user group. So you can have your QA users in a certain user group and do the mapping for that particular user group. So once they have verified, you can do for all the required other users. It should be possible to get through the concepts.
Can you assign users against a custom context or group of users?
Of course, both user and user group variables are available. Apart from that, you have company and some other attributes context attributes that you can map against. But user and user group is there, it is available.
Do end users have to bother with clearing mappings cache, or is it just a tool for consultants doing the configuration of context?
It is a one-time thing for consultants. When we do the first time mappings, some instances that we have, not all the time, but some instances we have seen that there are some issues with uncleared previous mappings in the cache. So that is why the clear mappings cache option is there. So it is not there for end users. Whoever do this mapping can try this out for a one time.
Is there a limit for a number of contexts that can be defined per page?
Not at the moment, nothing that I'm aware of at the moment.
When you add a duplicate field, then is it creating a new database field?
No, it is basically cloning the existing client field on the client end, basically. If you want a persistent data be stored, we advise use of custom attributes. So you have capability to create persistent data with.
What is the impact to a customized context page if a future IFS update contains changes to the original page?
So since when you are configuring something on the application, the configuration layer takes the priority. So the core layer is the underlying layer. So even though there are changes delivered from the R&D through updates or maybe a customization delivered. At first, it will not be straight away visible once you apply the update because the previously configured layer has overtaken the core layers, or what you see is the configuration that was done earlier on an old core, like when you have a new update. So it is at the moment, it is not straight away visible. So you have the way to get around this is to unpublish existing configuration. So then the base will be updated and then you can republish the configuration. We know this is quite cumbersome and not the best way. So we are working on a new development so that we can provide you the tooling support to merge your new updates when you have a configuration applied on the same page. So it is something coming up in IFS Cloud upcoming releases. So we are right now working on providing tooling support so that you can merge or rebase your configurations with your new updates rather than having to go and manually do the reconfiguration part whenever there is an update. But at the moment, yes, it is a bit cumbersome with the current state.
Thank you. Are concepts of base and personal profiles still captured in Aurena?
Not really. Right now, what we have is only personal profiles in Aurena. We do not have base profile concept for the moment in Aurena. It's because it's quite different, Aurena, when it comes to comparing with IFS EE, because in IFS EE, base profiles were used as a mechanism to distribute configuration as well as some personalizations, like group personalizations. So right now with Aurena, we have this configuration context mechanism to distribute configuration. So base profiles are not yet implemented as it was in the IFS EE. So it is something that is being discussed, but at the moment there is no base profiles, but there are personal profiles that is also quite with restricted functionality that end users do not have much choice, but it is more like developers having what will be saved in the profile and what will not be.
Okay, we have one that's similar. Is it
Okay.
correct to assume that base profile versus personal profile are replaced by global versus other context?
Not completely. I mean, profiles used to have this personalization part also, not only configuration. So this global and custom context more or less handle the configuration part, configuration distributions, but the personalization aspects are not covered with that. So we cannot say that exactly base profiles are replaced by these contexts. Not true, but some aspects of the base profiles, basically the configurations are there with the context, but personalization aspect is not there at the moment.
Okay, thank you. We are pretty much out of time. I've got one more question I'll ask, and then there are about 7 questions left in the queue. What I'm going to do is when we have the recording of the session done, I'll post it in the community, and I will post these questions and tag the asker so that you guys can come and have your questions there and we can
Yes,
answer them in the
Sure.
community. Okay, so our
yes,
last
we'll go
question.
ahead and answer there.
um,
Okay.
I got one more. Can all the users do page configurations, or is it controlled by projection permission sets access grants?
Page designer is actually controlled by permission set grant. So not every end user have the access to the page designer. If you have FND admin permission set or custom objects admin permission set, which is the main permission set actually that is controlling this configuration and extensibility aspects. So if you have this custom objects admin permission set granted somehow, you have access to these tools. So it will be most likely be a power user or an admin user, like someone with special grants. Not everyone or not all the end users have access to these tools.
Great, thank you. So thank you to our presenters again, Lakmali and Minoshini. That was great. Thank you for putting all this together. I know it's a lot to cover, certainly in an hour of time. Again, this session is recorded. I will be posting this in the community either later today or Monday at the latest, and I will add these questions as comments, the ones we didn't get to today. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming. We hope to have another session at the end of the month, so keep an eye out in the community for registration information. And ladies, again, thank you so much. Everyone have a great weekend.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.